Our work and our part of it is to change the individual, to say, I have self-love. I have a shield of self-love. It's not perfect. It doesn't mean in every moment I love my body or myself. I have a critical voice, but I know how to work with it when it comes up, and I can use it and have it become an ally in a certain way. And this is a big part of the work we do with people.
Welcome to Uprising. Each episode looks inside what it takes to lead the most dynamic and successful cultural movements. Some of them in the business world, some in the social realm, some in politics, and some in between, to see why people start uprisings. What gives those initiatives momentum and keeps them going? And most important, what lessons can you learn from these movements and how to apply them to your business and even personal life? Let's explore the secret to sparking movements that move people into action.
Passionate ideas.
Controversial ideas.
Uprising ideas.
The power is now in the hands of anyone.
To start a cultural movement.
Today's Uprising Pod is brought to you by warbyparker.com. Get a free 5-day home try-on at www.warbyparkertrial.com/uprising. 5 pairs, 5 days, 100% free.
Hey everybody, welcome to the Uprising podcast. Welcome back. Welcome to all of you who are listening for the first time. I'm your host, Scott Goodson. I'm the founder of Strawberry Frog, the movement marketing firm, Movement Makers, and also creator of the Uprising Pod. To start today's show, I'm going to give you a small task. I want you to list 5 things you like about your body. Then I want you to list 5 things you don't like about your body. I bet it was much easier to find things you don't like about yourself than it is to compliment yourself, right? Why is that? Today's show is all about how we learn to love our bodies with the body positive movement. In recent years, the movement is gaining momentum as people embrace different shapes and different sizes, different ways of looking at our body. This new way of thinking is seen through social media and even in advertising campaigns. But the movement can be traced back to the 1990s with the start of the Body Positive organization, which teaches people how to love who they are and the bodies they're given. To talk about this growing movement, we have the CEO and co-founder of the Body Positive, Connie Sobczak. Connie, welcome to the show. So great to have you with us.
Thank you. I'm so happy to be here.
Let's start with the Body Positive. You started the organization in 1996, but recently, in the age of movements, more people are joining your movement. What does your movement and your organization stand for?
Well, I can speak for our organization, The Body Positive, and it's important to distinguish the in our name, as that's how you find us on the internet. We are thebodypositive.org. So we stand for creating a space for all people to be able to have a joyful, powerful, positive relationship with their body, to step away from the societal rules and norms around what bodies are supposed to look like in order to have beauty or to have health, and to really free people to live their purpose and their passion.
What does it actually mean to be body positive?
Being body positive is something that I think has become controversial now that there is a larger movement beyond our organization. So a lot of people talk about being body positive. Corporations are now attaching to it and trying to bring it into kind of still perhaps a diet mentality or use it to sell clothes or products for other things. But what being body positive means to us at The Body Positive is that it's not about being perfect in loving your body in every moment. It's not about getting to this place of I will take care of myself, but then I will never struggle with that. It's about being a human being. It's about honoring that we have bodies. That's why we get to be here on the planet. And then how can we care for them from a place of self-love? And with self-love, again, it's not perfect. It's about practicing self-love. It's about picking ourselves up when we fall down. It's about reaching out for community when we struggle, but really doing the best we can to honor these bodies that give us life.
I love that mentality.
Thank you.
You yourself have a pretty harrowing journey of body image issues. Where did your journey start?
My personal journey started when I was probably about 12 years old. Before that, I was this very free child. My mom was incredible in terms of letting us run free wherever we lived. And then when I was 9, we moved to a farm. I had horses. We got to just go out. I just used my body all the time. I used it for work. I used it for play. I didn't know that there was any way I was supposed to eat or not eat. I was just very free. And at 12, I got into a social group in junior high, and all of the girls were dieting. And so I started dieting, wanting to fit in, and I just kind of took on that persona. But at home, what was also happening was that my oldest sister, Stephanie, was a big person. She was almost 6 feet tall. As I look back, I see that she was probably starting to binge eat a bit just because she felt so uncomfortable living in this body that was so different from the ones around her. And so my dad, who was very weight conscious, would start saying things to her at the dinner table, like, Stephanie, are you sure you want to eat that? And do you know how many calories are in that food? And so that prompted her to go to Weight Watchers, where she lost a whole bunch of weight, but then she gained it all back, as 95% of people do, plus more. And so I watched this journey with her, and I actually then, because of the peer pressure at school, kind of joined in with her on her Weight Watchers dieting plan. And so I just got immersed in this whole diet culture. And then at 15 years old, I was lamenting one day about how much I'd eaten, and a friend said, oh, well, this is what I do, and taught me how to be bulimic. And that planted a seed that really took root. And so by the time I was probably about 17, I really had a full-blown eating disorder.
This is something that you struggled with for some time. How did you get through it all?
This was a long time ago. I had an eating disorder in the late 70s and got over it in the early 80s. And so there wasn't a lot of help. And so I really went downhill fast. I got to UC Berkeley as a transfer student and couldn't stay with my engineering studies because I thought something was wrong with my major. But what was really happening was my struggles with my own body. And I was just so obsessed with food and my struggles that I kept dropping in and out of school, and then finally realized something was wrong with me. I healed on my own. And then I went back to school and got a degree in psychology.
And what happened with your sister?
Stephanie, my sister, wasn't so lucky. She, at 21, also got breast implants. She became bulimic herself after the dieting didn't work. And then because of the complications of the breast implants that poisoned her body with silicone, she died when she was 36 from lupus cerebritis, which she contracted from the silicone poisoning, and then also malnutrition.
How did losing your sister in that way change your life?
It changed everything for me. The biggest thing I think that happened because of Stephanie's death was, so at that point, my daughter Carmen was a year old. And I had done tremendous healing on my own through my 20s. I created a beautiful relationship with my body and with food. And I was doing intuitive eating before there was actually an intuitive eating field. And I look back and I see now how I just really connected with my body through moving it and feeding it well and just having fun with it. So by the time I had a child, I was completely over my eating issues, and I knew I would raise her differently. However, losing Stephanie made me realize I needed to change the world for my daughter. And I really had this full hit of, I will change the world. Carmen will never have this issue that Stephanie and I have had, and she will never struggle with her body. So that was the beginning seeds of the Body Positive. 3 years later, I got the idea to create videos for teens and their voices to plant seeds of a different way of living in a human body. And then I met Elizabeth Scott, the co-founder of the Body Positive, who was working with young people around healing from their eating disorders. She's a social worker. And so we joined forces and created our first peer leadership program and our first videos that educators could use with students in the classroom. So my whole life changed, and it still is different because of losing her. So nothing's been the same.
mentioned that your mission is to change the world, change the way people view their body. But your movement has a very real antagonist, the media. They see these perfect bodies in magazines, TV shows, and movies. They all depict these skinny, perfect bodies to the public. How are these images affecting the way people see themselves?
The media is one, only just one. The other part that's really difficult to deal with is the kind of health industry as well. But let's start with the media. The images definitely have a negative effect on people, especially young people who aren't really understanding yet what it means to absorb image after image after image and how that really changes the brain in a negative way to see oneself as ugly and not acceptable. So it was, I think, Susie Orbach, who has a piece in her book, Bodies, about what happens to us when we have just this constant bombardment of these images, that it really makes it almost impossible to see ourselves with beauty. So what we're trying to do is get people to wake up a little bit, kind of open their eyes to see what's happening to them, that they are not the problem, that all of the stuff that's coming at them is aggression. And that's one of the things I think it's really important to understand is this is aggressive, what's coming at us. And so one of the things that I love that we are talking about now and that we're going to be having in our new online courses is teaching them how to deal with aggression. So I think that's a really big part of how we deal with the media, social media especially. How do you use it? So how do you feel after you use it? So can we be intuitive in our use of media? So if I am on a social media feed and afterwards I feel like crap and I hate myself and I'm thinking I'm ugly or fat or something's wrong with me, and I say fat meaning the way society says it, that people are taught. But how can we then say, wait a minute, this is not how I want to feel, and intuitively I feel terrible about myself, so how can I start to shift and change and move towards things that make me feel better in my life? Same with movies, same with magazines. One of the things I do when I'm in grocery stores is I cover up magazines that are giving me all those horrific messages about I must lose my ass and my belly, and I don't want to see that while I'm buying my groceries, and I just feel that's the aggression coming at me, so I just cover them with political magazines or food magazines, and then I feel okay buying my groceries.
You also mentioned the health industry. Can you touch upon that?
Yes. So first of all, the fitness industry is all about weight loss. I think that going to a gym or getting a personal trainer is a wonderful thing to do when one can go in their natural body size and shape and not have it be about weight loss, that it can be about strength and really creating habits that are sustainable to help people live longer and have less disease and be a healthy person in the truest sense of the word, but so much of it is tied with weight loss that really sets people up for failure. The diet industry, same thing. It's even Weight Watchers, all of the ones, they're still weight-based. And so maybe some of the messages are good, maybe some of the messages are helpful, but the double binding part of it is that it's still connected to weight loss. So the mixed messages about love your body at whatever size it is, but you really want to lose weight in order to fit in or to be healthy or to be whatever it is, that really sets people up for failure.
I love the idea of aggression and aggressive messages. It's provocative. It's what a societal movement is all about. And I love how you brought it into your movement. How is your movement counteracting these aggressive messages?
Yeah, so what we do to counteract aggressive messages is that we teach people how to recognize it, first of all, and then how to turn towards themselves with love. So how do I not take this in? Some of our young ones that have grown up with us, I was interviewing some young women who had worked with us in high school and they were in college at the time later. And they were talking about how their college experience was so different than most people's because of having been part of the body positive. And I said, why? What is it? And they said, well, we have these shields of self-love that we can put up whenever that negative talk starts happening around us or whenever we get those messages from culture that are telling us we should fundamentally change who we are. And so we can put up a shield of self-love. And I thought that was a really beautiful way to describe it. So I think it's great that a lot of people are trying to change the images and that there are people who are working to speak to the industries that harm people. And I feel like, me personally, my mission is, instead of trying to change that message coming at us, we change the people who are receiving it to say, no, thank you. That's not me.
For you, the listeners of Scott Goodson's Uprising Pod, Warby Parker is offering a free 5-day home try-on to give you the opportunity to check out their glasses. To get your home try-on today, go to warbyparkertrial.com/uprising. Again, that's warbyparkertrial.com/uprising for your free 5-day home try-on.
Then let's get into more specifically about the work that you do at the Body Positive. One way you spread your movement is introducing these curriculums at universities around the country.
Yes.
What are those curriculums like?
Well, they're wonderful. And one of the things that's great about it is, so we give our curriculum to different people. So student leaders, we give it to educators and mental health and medical staff at universities, also professionals who work in nonprofit and youth organizations and all sorts of different places. We even have yoga teachers who are using it. So anyone who takes the curriculum then has a facilitation guide that gives them all the background of all the work they're going to be doing. At our trainings, we teach them how to run groups and be leaders. And then the actual group curriculum gives them sessions that they can do to teach people about our 5 competencies of the Be Body Positive model. So they have everything that they need to start the conversations, to do the activities with people, and to really do what we do. And so we want them to take it. And the best part about it is they take it, they modify it as long as they're in alignment with our philosophy, which is honoring size diversity and teaching health at every size and not giving mixed messages. They can transform it and change it into what works for them. So they make it better. We say, be creative. Don't try and just be clones of us, but be creative and come up with new ideas and how to teach these concepts. So it's a really wonderful, very deep. It reaches all different types of people. We've had one university did a side-by-side of our curriculum with some other stuff that's out there. And really what it shows is that ours just goes in so deep to really fundamentally how we can be happier as human beings on the planet and be more connected to our passions and our purpose.
How do students respond to these curriculums?
Incredibly well. They are transformed. I mean, I've been doing this for 22 years, so our earliest group of leaders that we trained are now in their later 30s, and talking with them I get chills just thinking about it right now. Their lives are different than other people's. My daughter's life is different because she never had to deal with body hatred. What happens is people get to focus on their lives. It doesn't mean that they don't have struggles, but they're not turning and attacking themselves in the way that most people do, especially the young ones, and thinking they are to blame. So they're able to have a context of what's going on around them. They are able to see what aggression is, and they are able to heal themselves when things do get hard or reach out in a way that's very unique and different. So I think the thing for me that I love seeing the most is so many of the students have gone on to get secondary degrees, and a lot of them have gone into social work and are helping all different types of people in being able to heal whatever issues they're dealing with in just many different fields. The work they're doing is profound. And my work on the planet, and same with Elizabeth, is that we can free these people from this burden and waste of time of body hatred and obsession, and I'll free them to go out and do the work that we need on the planet right now to heal it.
That's awesome.
And they're doing it. And that's the fun part. They're actually doing it. So as a 57-year-old, I'm like, okay, this is good. I have hope for the planet.
All you need is some hope.
A little bit of hope.
I want to talk about a common misconception about your movement. A lot of people think body image issues are a women's struggle, but really it affects people of every gender of every age, every race. All these people, all struggle with body image issues. How do you build a movement that affects so many people, so many different people?
So because our work is grounded and rooted in, we have a feminist dialogical model. So we started by asking people, what is going on with you? What are your struggles? And then finding out what is the social environment around them that disrupts their embodiment. So a lot of this is based on the work of researcher Neva Perron from Canada, who's done amazing work around this. But asking people, what is going on with you? I have no idea what another person needs. So how can we help people see what their own needs are, what their struggles are? And then we ask, what do you want to do to change the environment in order to make you feel better? And then how can we support you? So by doing this for so many years and in this way, we created a model that really is honoring each individual's unique life experience and unique story. So we have a framework for our model, and then we have people take what works for them in whatever ways it can work for them. And so we are not saying live this way, do this. To our leaders, we're not even saying read this script. We're saying here's a script if you want to read it, but transform it and modify it to work with the people that you reach. And in this way, each person gets to own it for themselves. So to me, that's the power of it. And then they take it into their life and say, what is my life about? And so then they get to focus on who am I as an individual and what are the struggles that are mine, and how can I then connect with people who have similar struggles, but also people who have very different struggles, and see that we're all human beings really just trying to live in these bodies. And so what I love about our work is it brings community together of people who can then connect on similar issues and then also really diverse issues and learn from one another.
Let's reflect back on your work for a moment. Is there one thing that stands out in your past that has helped galvanize people to get them into your movement?
Well, I'm not really sure, because it's been fascinating to see how the body positive movement as a larger social movement has come about based on, we had a name of an organization and this is what we did. So when it happened and what was the turning point, I think the reason society is ready for this is that I think people are really tired of hating themselves, whether it's something just that's needed in order to create change more quickly on the planet, but individuals need to heal their own relationship with the body. Our planet is struggling, and that we as bodies, we are part of the earth, and we are part of the need to heal this relationship with ourselves so we can heal the planet. So I see that there's something larger, some larger force that's happening. What I know in terms of our work that people come back for is the work we do around the critical voice and working with the critical voice. And I know that is something, when people do come to us and they leave, they say, thank you so much. I get to go out and I get to live differently, and I'm not afraid of myself anymore because I can work with my critical voice. That's the one thing I see about our work, is in terms of the whole world. I'm not so sure.
Is there one thing that didn't work? Is there some, let's say, flop?
Oh, there have been lots of flops. There's been so many flops. Running a nonprofit organization is not an easy thing to do, and with our topic. So imagine you're trying to get funding to talk about the body in this way of allowing people to be who they are. So we had incredible funding when we first started. Health foundations were interested in eating disorders prevention for teenage girls, and that was a sexy thing for them to fund. And around 2000, everybody started into and I'm using quotation marks if you could see me, around the obesity crisis, because I hate the word and I don't use it, and I think it's used to harm and scare people, and it's also really a lot of falseness in it. And so all the health funding went to helping people lose weight, and organizations that did, and we kept our message of we honor health at every size and we honor size diversity, and all of our funding went away. And so was that a flop? I think I'm really glad we stayed with what we believe in, and there were a lot of lean years where I was basically a volunteer, and it was very, very hard, and I wanted to let go a lot, but this work is so important, and people were so grateful to us for having such a clean message that is not, there are no mixed messages in it, that it's been worth it. But yeah, flops and trying activities out that don't work and trying different things. So The thing about having self-love is that you can take risks. And I think that I embody, and Elizabeth embodies what we teach. And so we're willing to try things out and flop. And we get criticism or this and that, and we take it in and we improve. And I think that's the only way to be able to sustain something.
So, we're living in this age of Instagram, of the perfect body, the perfect image. What would you say to anyone listening right now who believe themselves to be not pretty enough, or not skinny enough, or not muscular enough, or not blank enough? What would you tell them?
First, I would ask them who gave them that message. Where did they get that message? And then I would ask them how it feels to experience that. And is that how they want to live their lives, feeling that something's wrong with them? And then I would sit them down and I would first hope that they would read my book, Embody, Learning to Love Your Unique Body and Quiet That Critical Voice, to hear my story of healing and other people's stories. And then I would want to have a conversation about what is their purpose on the planet and what are their passions and what do they want to be doing with their lives and what gives them joy and what fills them up and how is that related to their body size or shape. And then the question is, who says that you have to be this or this or this? And the thing that I know is that when we are in alignment, when we are at peace with our bodies, when we are connected to our spirit, our purpose, whatever, our hearts, that there's an energy that is attractive to other people. So it has nothing to do with what we physically look like, but we have energy. And that's what real attraction is. And so that's one of the things I talk to people a lot about is you're given messages about you're supposed to be an object at which people stare. And this is part of a poem that I wrote. But can we be a subject? Can we be an active participant in our lives? And that comes in all different shapes and sizes. And here's who I am right now. And these are the ancestors I have that brought me here. So how can I do the work from here?
I love that mentality. So what would the world look like when everybody is body positive? Is that even possible?
Well, it's probably not possible completely because there's always going to be dark and light. And that's part of, I think, the forces of the world. And so as long as people are making money off of other people's suffering, I think people will suffer over their bodies because they will be in isolation and won't know that it's okay to be free. But I think a body positive world would have people, individuals, seeing their authentic beauty, knowing who they are, connecting with each other that isn't around comparison or shame or guilt. And I think that there would be so much more energy to put into doing the work on the planet that needs to be done. So I think it could be a really beautiful place. There would be a whole lot less suffering, and my sister would have been alive, and a whole lot of other people would be alive if it were the case. So we'll see. I'm going to keep trying until the day I die to make that world.
How will you keep trying? What is next for the body positive and its movement?
I'm really excited about our next step. So we have been working with people in person for 22 years, and now we're creating online courses so people who can't get to us, who are far away or have financial limitations, can experience our work. And so those courses, the first round of those courses should be up this spring and ready to go. So I think the thing is to get the message out, to help reach people, to wake them up to see that there is a different way of living in their bodies and that we are here to support that. So online, and then expanding our trainings and getting more people trained as Be Body Positive facilitators so they can take our work out. So if anybody's interested, this is an awesome thing to do. It's so uplifting to do this work, and you really do get to change lives, other people's lives and your own at the same time.
Where can people go to get involved with the body positive movement or learn more about you?
We can be found at thebodypositive.org. And again, the is very important in that email and that website address. We can be emailed at info@thebodypositive.org. We love to have volunteers. We can have remote volunteers and people who can come work with us in person. And then if you're hesitant and want to take a little time to check it out, read my book, Embody, Learning to Love Your Unique Body and Quiet That Critical Voice. It's not just about body image, and that's a great way to really see if our work is right for you.
Connie, this was super great, very moving, very timely and relevant information in the age of Instagram. Thank you so much for joining us.
Well, I'm grateful to have the opportunity to do this interview, and I just want to let people know that being free from obsession about the details of one's body is so incredible, and it's possible for everybody, even if you don't think it is. It is possible.
A great mentality to close with. Thank you, Connie.
Thank you for joining us on the Uprising Pod today. If you want to find out more about our guests or learn how to create your own movement, please go to scottgoodsonsuprising.com. You can also download the show from iTunes or where other podcasts are curated. The Uprising Pod is executive produced by Frank Olito, produced by Nicola Keneally, and edited by Russell Costanzo. With special help from Melanie Boardman, Karin Drachenberg, Philippa Freeman, Brianna Campbell, Farshad Faroudi, Mark Bruzy, Mark Issam, and Jonathan Weeks. My name is Scott Goodson, and you've been listening to the Uprising Pod, where we can learn about movements and uprisings that are shaping our world, in business, in society, and in between. For more on cultural movements and movement marketing, be sure to pick up a copy of the best-selling book, Uprising, How to Build a Brand and Change the World by Sparking Cultural Movements, available on Amazon.com. If you have a moment, please do give us a favorable review on iTunes so that our movement moves up the ranks of the iTunes podcast list. And if you have ideas for future shows, please let us know by going to scottgoodsonsuprising.com. Thank you, and speak to you soon.